There are cars you pass every day that quietly defy time. Machines from the past century still hammering over 1,000,000 miles, while today's models struggle by comparison. In 10 cars that were built to last forever number 2, we're not just talking about urban legends. We're uncovering the real engineering secrets behind vehicles like the Subaru Outback, with its symmetrical all-wheel drive, Honda's Civic ticking past 300,000 miles, and trucks packing cast-iron engines that weigh as much as a grand piano. If you think durable cars are a thing of the past, the evidence proves otherwise. But what exactly did these automakers do that modern giants seem to have forgotten? And how did it change the lives of everyone who's ever put trust in a machine? The answers might upend everything you thought you knew about reliability. Number 10. Subaru Outback and Honda Civic. In the mid-1990s, Subaru did something almost nobody expected. They took their practical legacy wagon, raised it up a few inches, added some tough plastic cladding, and called it the Outback. But the real secret wasn't the look, it was what lay underneath. Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system was brilliantly simple. No complicated electronics, no computers deciding when to send power, just a mechanical system that worked like clockwork, day in, day out. Mechanics in Vermont joke that Subarus don't die, they just get passed down to the next generation. They see Outbacks still running strong after 300,000 miles. Original transmission, original differential, still plowing through snow like it's nothing. The Boxer engine sat low in the chassis, giving the car a balanced feel, and with regular oil changes, these engines just keep ticking. The only real Achilles heel? Head gaskets on some years, but even then, owners found that a weekend in the driveway and a new set of gaskets could add another 100,000 miles to the clock. But while Subaru was quietly building the world's favorite family wagon, Honda was chasing perfection with the Civic. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Honda engineers were given a blank check during Japan's bubble era. The result? Double wishbone suspension at all 4 corners, technology usually reserved for high-end sports cars, installed in a humble compact. The Civic's B16A engine was a jewel. 1.6 liters, twin cams, VTEC, and the ability to spin to 8,000 RPM without breaking a sweat. People called it overbuilt. What it really was precise. These engines were assembled with tolerances that would make a Swiss watchmaker jealous. Owners discovered something remarkable. Civics didn't just last, they got better with age. The shifter stayed tight, the steering stayed sharp, and the engine kept pulling, mile after mile. Brake pads lasted 70,000 miles or more, and the suspension bushings shrugged off potholes that would have rattled lesser cars apart. For many, the Civic wasn't just reliable. It was a gateway to learning how to drive, how to wrench, and how to appreciate engineering that put longevity first. Both the Outback and Civic prove that durability doesn't have to mean heavy-duty or old-fashioned. Sometimes it's about getting the basics exactly right. Simple, balanced mechanics, quality materials, and a refusal to cut corners. These cars weren't built to impress accountants. They were built to outlast everything else on the road. And decades later, they're still doing exactly that. Number 8. Ford Super Duty with the 7.3 Power Stroke and Chevrolet's GMT 400 trucks. These weren't built for comfort. They were built to work, day after day, year after year. The 7.3-liter Power Stroke diesel, introduced in 1994, weighed in at 920 pounds dry. No aluminum tricks, no lightweight alloys, just cast iron blocks and heads, forged steel rods, and a gear-driven cam. This engine was conservative by design. It made 235 horsepower, but the real story was torque. Over 500 pound-feet, delivered low and steady, perfect for hauling loads across Texas highways and up mountain grades. Owners like Mr. Freeland in Texas turned these trucks into living legends. His 2000 F-350, bought brand new, logged 1.3 million miles on the original engine and transmission. He ran hotshot loads, replaced starters, alternators, and clutches, but never the heart of the truck. Every oil change used Motorcraft filters, no shortcuts. Brake pads lasted 120,000 miles, injectors nearly 1 million. When he finally swapped the steering box, the rest of the truck kept rolling, frame and suspension untouched. Meanwhile, Chevrolet's GMT 400 platform, built from 1988 to 2002, became the backbone of American work fleets. The frame was dipped in hot wax to resist rust, crossmembers bolted and riveted to handle twisting loads, and every exterior panel, except the roof, galvanized on both sides. 5 layers of paint protected the body, and the bed was designed without exposed bolts, so nothing snagged or rusted out. These trucks didn't have plush interiors, but they did have seats you could hose off after a muddy job site. Underneath, simple fuel injection replaced carburetors, and the engines, small block V8s, 4.3-liter V6s, ran for hundreds of thousands of miles with nothing more than regular oil changes. Ask any mechanic in the Midwest, GMT 400s outlasted the farms and construction companies that bought them. They became hand-me-downs, passed from father to son, then sold to the next guy for a few grand, still running strong after 20 years. The secret wasn't magic. It was overbuilt hardware, serviceable parts, and an owner base that believed in maintenance. These trucks didn't need a computer to tell you when something was wrong. A rattle, a squeak, a check under the hood. It was all fixable, often in a driveway with basic tools. The result? A 1,000,000-mile club that keeps growing, and a reputation for brute strength that modern pickups can only hope to match. Number 7, Volvo 240 and Lexus LS 400. In the mid-1970s, Volvo engineers took a radical approach to longevity. Build a car that could protect its occupants in almost any crash and make the structure strong enough to last decades. The 240's secret weapon was a safety cage inspired by Volvo's VESC concept, a design so far ahead of its time it could withstand an 80 km/h frontal impact while keeping the engine out of the cabin. The front and rear crumple zones were engineered to absorb energy, while the central cage stayed rigid, protecting anyone inside. Insurance Institute studies from the late 80s and early 90s tell the story. The 240 wagon posted the lowest driver death rate of any car in its class, with some years recording 0 fatalities. Over 2.8 million 240s left the factory, and more than a few are still on the road today. Their boxy shape's a familiar sight from Stockholm to San Francisco. Meanwhile, in Japan, Lexus engineers were quietly rewriting the rulebook on perfection. Project F1, the code name for the original LS 400, wasn't just another sedan. Toyota poured over $1 billion into its development, assembled 450 running prototypes, and logged 2.7 million test miles across deserts, highways, and mountain passes. The result? A flagship that didn't just match the Germans, it outlasted them. The 1UZ-FEV8 was engineered with a forged crankshaft, 6-bolt mains, and balance so precise you could stack champagne glasses on the engine at idle. Owners discovered these cars barely aged. Original leather stayed soft, wood trim didn't crack, and the suspension shrugged off potholes for hundreds of thousands of miles. Matt Farah's 1,000,000-mile LS 400 became legend, still running strong after a lifetime's worth of abuse. Both the Volvo 240 and Lexus LS 400 proved that when safety and perfection are baked into the bones, longevity follows. These weren't just cars built to survive. They were built to protect, to endure, and to quietly redefine what it means to last forever. Before SUVs became status symbols, the Nissan Patrol was busy conquering the world's harshest terrain. The Y60 and Y61 generations, especially those running the TD42 diesel, became the backbone of desert fleets from Dubai to the Australian outback. No turbochargers, no electronics, just a cast iron block, mechanical injection, and a gear-driven camshaft. These engines didn't flinch at 120-degree heat or endless corrugations. One documented patrol in Dubai logged over 1 million kilometers in commercial service. Original bottom end, same crank, still running. Fleet operators in the bush ran these trucks loaded, day and night, sometimes never unhooking the trailer for years at a time. Mechanics say the only real enemy was overheating. Keep the coolant fresh, and a TD42 would outlast the roads it drove on. Then there's the Mercedes W124, the car that made over-engineering an art form. Built from 1984 to 1997, it was so solid that German taxi drivers called it the bank vault on wheels. There's a well-documented story of a W124 being driven away after a tank rolled over it. In Albania, a 30-year-old W124 taxi racked up nearly 1 million miles on its original engine, still working the Adriatic coast. And in Greece, Gregorios Sachinidis' 1976 240D logged 2.8 million miles, enough to circle the globe over 100 times, before Mercedes brought it home to their museum. But the real survivor's badge belongs to the Chrysler Slant 6. From 1960 to 2000, this engine powered taxis, police cars, and farm trucks across America. The block was canted 30 degrees, letting it sit low for better handling, and long, even intake runners. New York taxis ran these engines to 300,000 miles without complaint. One Montreal cab racked up 1.6 million miles, 4 rebuilds, but the same crank and block. Mechanics called it the cockroach of engines, hard to kill, easy to fix, and always ready for more. And towering above them all, the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 series. Since 1984, it's been the go-to for humanitarian groups, the UN, and mining companies from Africa to Australia. The formula never changed. Ladder frame, leaf springs, manual hubs, and a diesel that runs on the worst fuel you can find. In Uganda, these trucks ferry patients through floodwaters to clinics. In the Syrian desert, they deliver food and medicine where nothing else survives. Over 10 million Land Cruisers have rolled off the line, and in places where the map turns blank, the only thing you'll find is a 70 series, still running, still delivering, still refusing to quit. In 1984, Toyota launched the Land Cruiser 70 series, a model still in production today, used by the United Nations and documented in field reports across Africa and the Middle East. Throughout this documentary, we've seen how over 300,000-mile Subaru Outbacks, million-mile Ford F-350s, and Mercedes W124s surviving tank collisions all testify to engineering choices focused on durability, not disposability. Company records show that the Lexus LS 400 underwent 450 prototypes and 2.7 million test miles before release. Yet, despite decades of data and owner stories, some design secrets, like the precise metallurgy behind the Chrysler Slant 6, remain unpublished or lost to time. Today, with shorter model cycles and rising complexity, few vehicles are built to these standards. But as long as these 10 legends remain on the road, their documented endurance offers clear proof. When manufacturers prioritized longevity, the results were not just rumors, but measurable, lasting reality.